Okay, there's my dam by the roadside. Yesterday, about lunchtime, that was half full. It's now completely full. This is fed primarily by a giant gutter that runs all down the side of this road. And you can see that piece there. That's another little bizarre thing that contains a lot of frogs. It's sort of a dip in the ground, and the end is sort of like all built up. Don't really know what happened, but that's the way it is. And this one will overflow out of this end and run into that, and then that all there is only about like 2 foot deep. And as I said, the end is really built up. And then a few metres later, you might be able to see there's a bit of a green line. It's a bit hard to see. You can't really see it. That's where the track is, and it goes over the track. And I've actually got all that part of the track full of rocks, so it doesn't wash it out, and then it goes into the dam. Here you can see the other bank. And yeah, my father's front dam that he messed around with. That, put those windows, it's getting cold. My father's front dam that he messed around with, that's got a couple of foot in it as well. So, and that dam drains off another road that runs along here, basically where you can't even power pole. It's hard to see. There's another power pole there. There's another one there. That road along there. Here's one that he modified and dug out deeper this year after fixing the loader. That one drains into his front dam, and there's also my big dam, and I don't know if we'll see anything in it. I have a feeling it's starting to fill, but sort of it's that deep you can't see it all from the road. Just the way it's built. I'll drive along here. Now what happened is during the drought, my uncle actually dug a little hole out right on the edge of the just pull over here and I'll point it out because it's right next to us right now. Here's the saying, here's the power lines and that. This is the ones I could have connected to for about $50,000, not going to happen. This is a little thing my uncle dug out. All that there is brown water. He dug that out during the drought, and he used to get his water tank that I still use today, pull it down on the side of the road, just right there basically, and then empty it into this where all the brown water is. And this has filled itself off the side of the road straight away. He had a lot of old... He'd gone and stuck a whole bunch of roses he's got from some great aunt in polystyrene containers sitting in here to keep the roots soaked, and then just left them there and they died and went rotten. So we pulled out a whole bunch of that shit out of there. You can see that big brown patch. That's my big dam. And yeah, I don't think I can see it. I'll drive along a little bit further, but I don't think I can. Just be careful. This is the time of year. I bloody done it with the other car last night, where if you don't watch it, you can get yourself stuck. Nah, can't see anything from the road. I can tell it's very wet around it, but I can't see any water in it. But we'll have to go and have a look at that at some point later. There we go, down the bottom a few palings. This HID torch is stuffing up. I don't know if it's the battery packs. Lucky use, cost a bloody fortune. It's blinking a bit. It has a certain blink when the battery's going flat, but this is not that sort of blink. Crappy contacts, I think. Anyway, that's what I've done so far. I've got another 8 more. Yeah, come on, you sod. This torch is not very happy. Anyway, I've got another 8 more that I've cut right there. And yeah, flatten the 5 amp hour battery in the new reciprocating source. I've got to go and charge that. Might even have a go at charging the stupid battery pack in this torch as well. I got some, what's his name? I'll just change a few lights over here. What are we doing again? One off, one on. There we go. Got a few, funny this thing, it sort of takes a little bit to warm up, the one in my bedroom. I got some stud adhesive anyway, and basically that's yeah, for putting plaster on walls. Brother-in-law professes to be a great plasterer, and when I was up there I was touching some of the walls they just put up and they were wobbling, and I was like, do you guys use acrylic stud adhesive? What's that? Oh God, blimey. Holy smoke, I thought everybody knew what that was, especially if you're apparently a good plasterer, but he's good at stopping up, but I don't think he's done very much hanging if he doesn't know what that was. I was putting that stuff on walls when I was 17 years old in office renovations. Anyway, it's basically like it's like acrylic gap filler, and a mix of sort of that and liquid nails. And basically what happens is, yeah, you slap it on the wall, and then you can put it on either steel or wood framing, and then you slap your plaster on. And if you don't, you can get this thing where you nudge your blooming wall, where your kid, you know, mucking around bumps up against it, and where you've got like your, you know, generally speaking, that's a screw-on plywood, but if that was a screw-in plaster, you'd have a bit of base coat over the top of it, or at least blooming just some, you know, run-of-the-mill plaster bog over the stuff. And if you were to push on the wall, it would actually pop out, and it would pop through the bog. And of course, it looks shit when it does that. So you put this acrylic stud adhesive on, and according to my old boss who I had back in the early thousands and late 90s, who I first done building with, he reckoned 80% of the weight of the wall was actually being held by the acrylic stud adhesive, and only 20% was being held by the screws. And he said it may actually be more, because basically you're only putting screws in just to hold the plaster sheet there until the glue dries, sort of thing. So anyway, I got a little tub of that. Might as well go shut to you. Oh, there's here. So one there. Bastion stud adhesive, suitable to apply in all conditions. Yeah, get a little bucket like that. They had a proper Gyprock one, and I'm pretty certain that's the plaster I've got. That's a real good brand of plasterboard, and of course, generally speaking, a good brand of stud adhesive. But the trouble is they dropped the damn bucket, and I think there's a crack in it, so it was going to probably be dry if I bought the bucket. It was probably a little bit more than I needed. It's probably double what I needed. So anyways, I went and got that one instead. I got some base coat, which is basically your plaster of Paris with your powdered glue in, and that's what you generally whack on. It's a lot harder. The like your top coat or whatever you want to call it, the Gyprock one is actually shit because it's full of bloody air bubbles, and the cheaper brands are better because they're not full of air bubbles. And you go over with this blooming top coat and there's friggin' air bubbles coming out all through it. I probably won't bother with top coat. I can't really be stuffed. I'll just use the base coat that I've got. And if I need to do a bit more, I'll just use just more of that same base coat. Because really speaking, if you do a neat job, it really doesn't matter that much. It's just a real bitch to sand it off because it's got that powdered glue in it. It makes it so much harder. Here's some of the acrylic gap filler I was talking about there. Just a little hole that was in the plywood. It's sort of like that, but usually it's actually blue, like a sky light blue colour. Anyway, I think I've seen pink as well. Anyway, I forgot to get the stupid fiberglass tape that you're supposed to put on your joins, and I'll have to get some of that at a later point. But it's bloody brilliant. In case the gyprock studded adhesive the bucket hadn't been dropped and more or less cracked, they had 3 bags of bloody base coat, and every single bag had a frickin' tear in it, and 2 of them had a hole in the bottom and 1 had a hole in the top, so I got the one with the hole in the top. And yeah, all covered in bloomin' plaster dust outside, all over the shelf. Oh god, somebody really needed to clean that section of the hardware store up, I may suggest. Anyway, I have got to go to work tomorrow, so and this 5 amp hour battery takes about 3.5 hours to charge. I'd like to charge it before I go to bed, and the sun's already gone down, so I better get myself sorted for tomorrow. Alrighty. Bright. It is shockingly bright for winter. Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. I'm pretty certain that is algae growing on the ground. Algae. Yeah, you can see it there. Just trying to see if it's picking up in the lens there, in the camera. It's all along through here. It's all on the ground, so we've had heaps of rain, but just yesterday was quite bright, and today is quite bright as well. And it actually got quite warm yesterday, and a reasonably warm today. Yeah. Got back from work a couple of hours ago. I just thought I'd show you what I kept talking about, which is all this. A lot of charcoal left behind, a hell of a lot. It sort of started raining a bit when it was still just burning red coals, so that might explain why so much of it ended up as charcoal as opposed to actually ended up as ash. But this is where I threw all the small stuff, most of that's, hang on. Okay, maybe not all of it's ended up as ash there. I was just picking out the bits of wire before, and I thought, hang on a minute, I was supposed to show this on camera. Anyway, I raked that little bit, which is sort of under shadow a bit, and on one side there, which is also under shadow. Jeez, I'm sick of this bloody camera and its light shenanigans. It's the best camera though, long battery in this phone and Bluetooth capabilities which make it good in that way, but dare I say it, the camera itself isn't terribly great. But as you can see, not much stuff really here, and just a couple of little tiny piss-weak sticks. And it's got 1 or 2 that's as big as my finger, but there's no real long ones that are sort of, like that. Aside from that, which I believe might have a little bit of weight on it still. And also has an old mattress tangled into the bottom. You can see the rusty wire there. Probably used for a chicken coop or pen of some sort, as there were a few. I actually found a complete one, like on its own, a very small one, still complete, still whole, with the framing rusting away, that I pulled out of all this when I was cleaning up scrap metal a long time ago, years back when I first lived here, when I first come to live here. Anyway, we've still got the big stuff here, that's sort of tractor size crap. Probably should have cut that off with a chainsaw and burn it, because this piece there is rotten while the rest of it's pretty good. This is when I decided to test out my little chainsaw, not the one I've got now, but a previous one, and was worried about how close. You better see it again. There's one gable of the house, and there's a second one. You can see the rest of the roof sheet there. I was worried in the winds that this might blow down and hit the house, at some point, so I thought, well, we'll make sure there's no cypress pines that are in reach of hitting the house that are dead. That one's still alive. So I decided to just cut this one down, which is obviously a decent size still. So yeah, this is the sort of stuff I was sweeping up, and sort of stuff like that, longer, thin stuff, or raking up rather. And I didn't sort of bother with this section. And the truth is, before I go and put all this in, you know, there'll be a lot of crap to rake up from underneath the box thorns, and not just sticks or little bits of box thorn prickles or anything like that. There's actual real plastic bags and such still under there. There's, which you can sort of see in there, there's an entire bike under there. There's bits of 4x2, there's other bits of steel, there's a few bits of corrugated iron, I think, blah blah blah. And all that'll get picked up, and I want to rake the entire area before we put any fence in. And I might create another little pile. The fence is probably going to go in somewhere around here, and I might create a pile up against one of these rock walls, but not too close to a pine or something like that. But we'll see. I might also find some way of dragging it out, but probably not. Or I might just pitch it all over the fence like I did with that other bonfire I just showed you. Yeah, this is all the gear here. That up there is the stuff we had previously, and all this gear down here and all along here is all more recent stuff. And you've got a decent log in there. And I still forgot to move it, which I probably should do in a minute. Is all these ones as well. So these are ones I just threw in here out of the way as I was trying to get all the shit here, the bigger stuff, out of the way so I could actually walk through here. And at a time when I couldn't walk here, I just threw a heap of stuff here, so I'll have to move that in with me stash there. It's a bit of an old drum. I might remark that I think it's stuck between that rock and the trunk. Some of those things you find, they've been put there so many years ago that after the trees are grown, then they're stuck in place. And some things you sort of find deliberately jammed in amongst the fence, like as though they almost use the rocks of the fence as a bloody anchor to hold part of a wall or something. You know, wouldn't surprise me. They use whatever they could get their bloody hands on back here in the depression. The only strange thing I can't understand is how you can pick up a bit of sheet metal, like just a bit of rusty old shit. Usually it's like a 5-gallon drum that they've cut the top and bottom off and rolled out flat. For some reason they were never short of nails, because I've picked up pieces with 35 bloody nails in the one bit of sheet metal. It'll only be like a bloody 2 foot by 1 foot bit of sheet metal, and you're like, how did they even do this? They did. Shortage of everything except nails. I don't know. Might have been some family connection that worked in a frickin' nail factory. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah. So hard up for sheet metal and decent bits of wood. Everything was, oh shit. Instead of using a bit of 4x2, they didn't have it, so they'd use 2 by about, 5/8 or something like that. Heaps of that stuff as sort of framing for a lot of these little sheds and chicken coops. No real decent sized wood, and then but the nails, oh gee, I just went full AK-47 with the nails around here. Anyway, it's good this is all calm today, because I can show you stuff, talk about stuff. This was the stuff I cut off here. This is the one that was up high here. As you can see, this one comes right out to the stone wall, and most of it doesn't. Most of it sits back a bit. But anyway, bloody lovely day today. Has been fantastic. Been a strange winter, very strange winter. Far brighter than usual. Not quite as much rain as we'd usually expect, but we do have the odd dud winter every now and then. Here's what I'm saying, a bit of wire. Completely stuck underneath all that. All these rocks jammed right through the side of it. It's almost like they're using the rocks as an actual anchor, and then this wire's gone on to hold, you know, a post of a chicken coop or something like that. You know, and weird stuff like that happens all the time with this particular stone fence. I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else's stone fence, but this one I can. I don't think most people have that, but then again, most people might have had relatives who had a whole heap of chicken coops against their front fence. I think mine did. In total, you want to talk about little sheds and stuff, there are still the dregs of one under here. I counted about 8 sheds or coops of some type. There's a bit of the anchor that they were using there. And there's a bit of the framing. And you can see in there some of the chicken wire. You can see there. And there's a bit of sheet metal in there. And this is sort of grown over the top. You see a bit more chicken wire. It's going rusty. In there, maybe. Just see it. A bit hard to see against the... There it is. That's one of only 8 of these small sheds and coops around this place. No joke, 8. Yeah, fair bit of history, I suppose, but you know, couldn't really tell you. I can tell you a few things in detail, but you know, like the pigs were down there, and some of these are chicken coops. That not 100% on all of it. That's the old harvester there. That's interesting. Some of the framework of that, it actually used a wooden frame with steel parts bolted to the wooden frame. And that's been there since my dad was a kid. And of course, boxthorns grow. And I need to get some more logs out of there, but that'll be one of next year's jobs, to be pulling all this out as well and removing those logs with it and pulling all this out and trying to probably cut some of these off here to put a fence in through here somewhere. Anyway, that's enough waffling on. It's alright, pussy. Come on, buddy. You what? You're a nice big pussy, aren't you, hey? You nice little ginger pussy, hey? And there you have it, people. There's the other cat. Keeps hanging around. It's like a white with ginger stripes. Very fluffy. I think it might almost... I don't know if it was a long hair. Hope you guys could see it. It was just about there. I just caught it in the veranda as I walked through. But another time was, like I mean in this veranda in past year. And just sort of went running out. Another time I was sitting in the veranda there, like on the wood or something, and just sat in there and looked at me again. First time I saw it was next to solar box there. It was actually underneath the further solar panel. It's good that I got a bit of a show of it on camera. Would have been good if it was a bit clearer than it did show it just then, but can't really zoom this thing properly. Yeah, sometimes both of my cats are in laying on my bed at night, like, you know, to sleep on my bed as I'm laying in bed. And the early hours of the morning I sometimes hear the old of the cat food bowl moving around, as that cat is probably getting herself a little bit of food. I don't know if it's a neighbour's cat or it is indeed stray, but there's been a couple of days here where it's been raining like hell, and it's been sort of like stranded here all day. Or either way, it's been here all day because realistically it may have been too wet to go back to its proper home, or it may very well not even have a proper home. Don't know. Anyway, not everybody has collars on their cats around here, or they just have like a flea collar but there's no registration. People ain't 100% gung-ho on registering cats and dogs, and quite honestly the registration rates here are about threefold per year of what it is for a lifetime registration in the state above me. It's fairly, they fucking rip you off with cat and dog registration, which is why many people don't even bother. And don't think I can see you, but anyway, some of these cats, you know, you could sort of say that the local government ranger, well, you know, prove it's my frickin' cat, you know, and the fact of the matter is, you know, you can take it away if you want to do so, if you're so certain that it should be grabbed. But anyways, I reckon the spinach is going to go sometime soon. I don't know, I'll give it another week or two. I've been saying I'll give it a week or two for the last 2 weeks. I don't know exactly what it looks like when it bolts, but we've got to avoid it bolting, obviously. These are getting pretty good, actually. Broccoli. All this shit, 100% of what you see here was all grown from seed. I'm not going to stand here and claim to be an expert gardener, and I'm especially not going to claim to be a homesteader or a great gardener and run out and buy everything as seedlings and then go, oh, look what I grew. It grew. Well, you didn't exactly grow it from seed. It's not quite as thrilling as actually growing it from seed. This grass is going berserk again. It's all come back up again. Damn stuff. Look, here's where I trimmed it last. Down there. Look, it's grown another friggin' shit. 10 or 11 inches. Anyway, that spinach mightn't be enjoying life in the sun for much longer. Still got some smaller ones here. There's a couple here are pretty small too. Probably see them almost by springtime. I'll probably be harvesting them. Anyway, that's a little cat that I've been mentioning, and another run of the random pot-based veggie garden there.